Artificial intelligence is transforming the world faster than we ever imagined.
Artificial intelligence, it promises so much, right? Improving our lives, opening up opportunities we couldn't even imagine before. But there's a dark side, like a really dark, evolving side that weaponizes this exact technology, and it's speeding up alarmingly fast. Today, we're going to dive deep. We want to shed some light on the chilling reality of AI-generated child sexual abuse material, or AI SAM. We're going to explore how it's created, its terrifyingly rapid evolution, the really complex ethical and legal minefield it presents, and the huge challenges in trying to combat it. Our mission here is to give you a clear, informed understanding of this absolutely critical issue. Okay? So let's try and unpack this a bit. When we talk about generative AI, what are we actually saying? We're essentially talking about intelligent computer programs, designed to create new original content. They do this by training on these massive data sets, spotting patterns, and then using that learning to generate stuff, text, images, you name it. Now, the concept might sound a bit abstract, but it really hit the public consciousness back in November 2022, things like ChatGPT. And that breakthrough, well, it kind of unwittingly set the stage for some truly unsettling image generation that came next.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, and also deeply concerning, is just the sheer speed of development in AI image generation. These AI systems, they learn iteratively. They're constantly refining their output, getting better and better. When analysts first came across AI-generated CSM, this was back in spring 2023, there were definite tells. You could spot it. Sort of things like backgrounds not quite lining up or body proportions being a bit off, clumsy even. They were distinguishable.
Okay.
But still pretty disturbing even then.
But here's where it just escalates horrifically. In just 6 months, that's half a year. By late 2023, these images changed completely. They became so terrifyingly lifelike that, get this, even highly trained forensic analysts started struggling to tell them apart from real photos. Imagine the dark web forums. They were apparently buzzing, a kind of chilling jubilation. Perpetrators realizing their darkest fantasies could be, made to order just by typing text prompts into the software. That level of realism, it's not just disturbing, it's a total game changer for this kind of abuse, and it's happening incredibly fast.
Absolutely. And when you connect that realism to the bigger picture, AI CSM isn't just a new type of illicit content. It's now appearing in ways that actively weaponize real identities. We're seeing images using the faces of known, actual victims. We're seeing the de-aging of celebrities, making them look much younger digitally, and even AI CSM featuring the likeness of celebrity children. It's horrifying. But maybe the most insidious part is these technologies that can nudify children. You take a perfectly innocent clothed photo, maybe a school picture shared online, and the AI manipulates it.
So it's not just creating from scratch, it's modifying real innocent photos.
Exactly. The implications for privacy, for safety, they're immense. It erodes trust in spaces where families just want to share things innocently.
That's truly chilling. Okay, so this brings us to a critical point. What are the specific tools, the platforms being used to actually produce and share this horrific material? We hear names like Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, DALL-E.
Precisely, those are the cutting-edge diffusion models.
Right?
Think of it like a digital artist starting with pure noise, like TV static, right? That it step-by-step refines it, adds detail, adds structure, based on patterns learned from millions, billions of real images scraped from the internet. It's this sort of reverse engineering of noise.
Right.
That makes the output so unnervingly real. Now it's really crucial to distinguish between the closed source models like Midjourney and DALL-E.
Oh, okay.
Where the code is secret and the creators can and often do implement content moderation and filters.
Right?
Versus the open source models like Stable Diffusion. Here, the code is public. Anyone can download it, modify it, run it.
And those open source ones, that's where it gets particularly difficult, doesn't it? Because they offer perpetrators, well, almost infinite possibilities. They can get around the safeguards, the filters that are built into the cloth models, letting them generate much more graphic, more extreme content. And we're also seeing, disturbingly, a rise in dedicated websites like easy, one-click AI pornography generation, or even these nudifying services. You just upload a clothed picture and the AI spits out an unclothed or altered version.
And that leads to an important question.
Yeah.
What do the perpetrators themselves prefer? What we see in forum discussions is often extreme frustration with the closed source models. They'll say things like, they have word filters and negatives that prevent most prompts anyway. Explicit frustration.
So they ditch them.
They quickly move to the open source alternatives because those let them generate images offline undetected with much more control over the final awful output. It's all about avoiding detection and getting exactly the perverse image they want.
And what's really alarming here, maybe even more disturbing, is the scale and the fact that this has become like a commercial enterprise. It's not just individuals messing around.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
This is rapidly becoming a sophisticated commercial dark market. We have some pretty stark data from an IWF study that really shows this. In just 1 month, September 2023, over 20,000 AI-generated images were posted to one single dark web forum.
20,000 in a month.
Just think about that volume.
Yeah.
And out of those, over 11,000 were flagged for assessment by IWF analysts.
Yeah.
Which resulted in 162 images being assessed as criminal pseudo-photographs and another 416 as criminal prohibited images. So this isn't a trickle, it's a flood.
Wow.
And beyond just the sheer number, we're seeing this growing commercialization. You have organized accounts selling custom AI images or exclusive photorealistic art charging subscription fees. We saw one example generating over $300 a month.
Just one account?
Just one. And that points to a scalable business model. Imagine that multiplying across hundreds, maybe thousands of these illicit creators. That financial incentive, it changes everything. It pushes for more content, more realism, wider distribution.
It's just astonishing how quickly this dark economy has sprung up.
Yeah.
Which leads you to wonder, what's the mindset here for the people creating this? And crucially, what are the legal ramifications when the images aren't real children? Is it somehow less harmful in their eyes or in eyes of the law?
It's a really disturbing spectrum of views among perpetrators about the realism and what they call satisfaction. You have some who are quite dismissive. They say things like, oh, I can spot AI work easily, or it's nothing compared to the real thing. They feel it lacks a sense of danger, as they put it. Then you have others who are genuinely surprised, even pleased by the quality. They'll comment, oh my God, it's gotten really good. Or, some of this realism is like 95% indistinguishable from real photos. And critically, some even say they prefer the AI-generated stuff because it's often higher quality than the low-res real CSAM circulating. Some even talk about deliberately trying to make their AI images look sick and dirty to mimic the look of real CSAM more closely.
Making it, yet look more like real abuse.
Exactly. It just highlights this deeply disturbed range of intentions and, frankly, twisted rationalizations.
And it's that kind of thinking that feeds into one of the most disturbing claims we hear, this idea that AI CSAM is somehow ethical because, no real child is directly abused in the creation of that specific image, that it's just fantasy.
It is absolutely not ethical. A dangerous fallacy. This isn't just about static images, it's part of a horrifying feedback loop. Think about how AI models are trained. They learn from existing data. If that training data even accidentally includes real CSAM, and sometimes it does, the AI learns and then reproduces the patterns of that real abuse.
So it perpetuates the original harm.
Precisely. Every piece of AI CSAM potentially echoes and perpetuates the real-world harm it claims to bypass. And beyond that, the act of viewing this material, whether AI or real, contributes directly to real-world harm. There was a survey, quite revealing. Over half, 52% of respondents felt viewing CSM might lead them towards sexual acts against a child. 44% said it made them think about seeking contact with a child. And over a third, 37%, actually admitted they had sought direct contact with the child after viewing CSM.
That's terrifying.
It is. So this idea of ethical AI CSM, it's not just wrong, it's a dangerous deception that normalizes this behavior and indirectly fuels real-world child abuse.
That's a crucial distinction and a deeply unsettling one. So given how fast this landscape is changing, what does the law actually say? Is it even illegal if it's not technically a real photo of a real child at that moment?
Well, in the UK, the law is actually quite clear on this. AI CSM is criminal. Realistic images fall under the Protection of Children Act 1978 as indecent pseudo-photographs of a child. And the less realistic, maybe more cartoonish images, they're covered as prohibited images of a child under the Coroners and Justice Act 2009. So the UK has been quite proactive.
Okay, so the UK's clear. What about elsewhere like the EU?
It's more complex there. Current EU legislation, like the Child Sexual Abuse Directive and some proposed regulations, is frankly struggling to keep pace. They often overlook the specific nuances of AI CSAM. The fundamental legal challenge isn't just about proving intent anymore. It's about the very definition of a victim and harm when an image is algorithmically generated, not captured by a camera. We're dealing with a whole paradigm shift that older laws just weren't built for. It really forces us to rethink traditional criminal law ideas, like criminal intent, or needing an identifiable victim, or proving causation of real harm with content that didn't start with a real-world event.
So, while the UK law might be clear, it sounds like actually enforcing it, especially globally, is far from simple. If these AI images are getting so realistic, and the creators are actively trying to hide them or bypass safeguards, how do we even find them? How do we stop them? What's the biggest practical hurdle right now?
The technical challenge is, it's huge. Right now, there's no common global standard for digital watermarking to reliably identify AI-generated images. And even if there was a standard, watermarks can often be edited out or even added falsely using software that's easy to get.
So they can be spoofed or removed?
Exactly. So as a result, there's no fully reliable AI image detection tool out there. Not yet anyway. Become this constant escalating race, a battle between the AI classifiers trying to detect these images and the people training models specifically to evade detection. Every time a new detection method comes out, people find ways around it.
Which raises another really critical question touching on privacy. What about private conversations? On end-to-end encrypted platforms? The proposed EU CSAM regulation would actually mandate service providers to detect, report, and remove this material, even in private chats. How does that square with privacy?
Yeah, that's a major point of contention. While the intention combating abuse is obviously vital, this approach raises really significant concerns. Critics warn about the potential for mass surveillance. They argue it could disproportionately restrict fundamental rights to privacy and data protection by essentially scanning everyone's private messages.
Scanning everything.
Potentially, yes. And there's another issue. AI detection tools are still imperfect. They can and do make mistakes. They might classify new or borderline artificial content and private chats as illicit without understanding the context or the intent. This leads to a high risk of false positives. Think about a parent sending a medical photo of their child to a doctor via a messaging app. Could that be flagged?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It creates this difficult scenario where effectively every user is sort of presumed guilty until proven otherwise, which is a very worrying trade-off for many people.
It's definitely a complex balancing act. No easy answers there. And thinking about accountability, what about holding the AI models themselves responsible? Or maybe their developers? How do you even attribute criminal intent, that mens rea, the guilty mind, to a piece of software or to a company that just created a general tool that someone else misused?
That hits on a core legal and, honestly, philosophical hurdle. Traditional criminal law hinges on that guilty mind, which is fundamentally tied to human thoughts, human intentions. Attributing criminal responsibility to an AI system itself, that's incredibly complex. Legally and technically, it's largely uncharted territory in legal frameworks. Or even holding the general operators, the companies who built the foundational models, criminally liable for how individuals misuse them. That's also really difficult. You risk penalizing an entire system or the innovators behind it for the bad actions of specific users. And that could seriously stifle innovation, much of which is actually beneficial.
Right? It could chill beneficial AI development, too.
Exactly. It's an area where the law is still playing catch-up with the pace of technology.
This deep dive has definitely brought some incredibly complex and very sobering realities about this dark side of AI into focus. The challenges feel immense.
They absolutely are. The sheer speed of ASM advancement, the way the lines are blurring between real and AI-generated content, and the struggle for legal frameworks to keep up while trying to balance critical things like privacy and safety. It's a truly formidable global challenge. But there is some hope, perhaps, that what AI creates, AI might also help to solve. New detection methods, better tools. But it will only happen with persistent, multifaceted effort and real collaboration.
So what's next then? What's the biggest takeaway for you, our listener, as we all try to grapple with this unprecedented threat?
I think the key thing is realizing this isn't just a technology problem. Fundamentally about protecting children and upholding basic human rights in our increasingly digital world. It absolutely demands urgent collaboration. We need industry leaders, law enforcement agencies, governments all around the world working together. We need to develop effective solutions, yes, but also legal frameworks that aren't just comprehensive but are also adaptable enough to evolve as quickly as the technology itself does.
And maybe here's a final provocative thought for you to consider as we wrap up. If these AI models are indeed trained on datasets that sometimes contain real CSAM, and that training process, as we discussed, effectively perpetuates real CSAM by recreating its patterns, then what is our collective responsibility in demanding accountability not just for the final illicit output, but for the entire AI development pipeline? From the data used for training right through to the tools themselves? Something to think about.